Okay, so this is about the importance of vaccinations. So I'm going to ask you a few questions first to begin. Are you self-vaccinated? All of you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. For those of you who have children, are your children vaccinated?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you believe that vaccines cause autism?
No.
No. Okay. So let's just think about those as we go along here. But first, I myself am vaccinated. Funny story, I was actually vaccinated with chickenpox twice. So just a little background on me. I do have 2 children, and they as well are vaccinated, and they will be continued to be vaccinated throughout the years. In the job that I work, I am a nursing student, and I highly believe in vaccinations, and you kind of push it on your patients, but of course it is their choice, but it's a teaching opportunity for us as well. And lastly, I do have an autistic cousin. He will be 18 this year, which is crazy, but he was never, it was never thought that his autism was caused by vaccinations. And quite frankly, I believe that if you believe autism is worse than death, then that is something that needs to be rethought as well. So, starting off, we're going to do the history of vaccines. So, by the College of Physicians of Philadelphia, they actually made a timeline of the history of vaccines. So, major outbreaks, they first began in the year of 1000. Now, it isn't, I can't even think of the year right now, but 2019. So, just think how many decades have gone by since our first major outbreak, which actually was measles, in fact. So the first vaccine was made in 1770. So it took quite a few years before they could even actually put the science together to figure out, what was going wrong. And then in 1805, the first compulsory vaccine was attempted. So another question, who invented the first vaccine? Does anybody know? No? His name was Edward Jenner. He was actually an orphan, and he started going to college, and he got really curious about it. And do you guys remember the cowpox? That's what started all the vaccinations. He is actually the one who thought of it. So that is how, because that was around the smallpox era, so that is how he came up with that vaccination. So anti-vaxxers and outbreaks. So even just yesterday, it popped on my phone that KCCI had posted that in 19 states in the United States right now have outbreaks of measles. And in New York, the mayor is, stating emergencies, asking for people to get vaccinated. I mean, this isn't just something that's been going on. This is right now. It is very serious. So, CBS News' Brian Paskus, he actually wrote about the measles outbreak. And since 2014, as of yesterday, it is the 2nd largest outbreak since then. And if we think about it with how much our medicine is advancing, that is a problem. And for the people who are immunosuppressed and can't get vaccinated, that just puts at a higher risk for everybody. So there's also a baby that was recently stated in our classroom that a teacher shared about the mother didn't want to give the baby the vitamin K that right after a baby is born, and that is used to prevent bleeding. And within a day, that baby had actually died because she didn't believe in vaccinations, because she didn't want her baby to get autism. And personally, I mean, that's just a hard thing for me as having an autistic cousin. So why do you think they don't want to vaccinate?
I think some people are concerned because vaccines bypass the natural courses of immunity.
But that's not true. They actually they introduce a part of the stem, and then they make your immunity grow. I mean, it's just like eating dirt. I mean, there's so many things in dirt that will build your immunity, and that's what vaccinations are for. They prevent the further stem of the growth. So, but one thing that I did notice is, you know, they weren't around when the first outbreak started. They weren't around when we didn't have a preventative measure. So how can they really be sure that, you know, stopping vaccinations is going to help anything? And not even that, they just, they like to blame everything on the medicine, whether it happened the day after, months, years after. It's because of the vaccinations, but that's not the case at all. So it's just something we all need to think about and take into consideration. So, speaking of vaccines and autism, so in 2014, there was a man that wrote an article, which was actually the Geyers brothers, and they were stating that, you know, vaccines had mercury in them, which is this thimerosal, and there was a small portion of it in, you know, the vaccinations, but the CDC and everything, they actually got rid of it. I mean, there's there's a very small case of it, and it's not, it's been tested through tests constantly, and there's no proven fact that that is causing autism. There is no scientific fact that vaccines cause autism. So, and I got that from the Autism Vaccine Myth by Laura Heft and Emily Willingham, and from the 2014 article. So, just to wrap up, the importance of vaccinations. You need to prevent illnesses and outbreaks. You need to be able to protect yourself and others around you. You don't know if the person sitting next to you has an immunosuppressed disease. You don't know if they can't get vaccinated because they're allergic to something in the vaccinations, which is actually pretty common. So this is also helping to prevent destruction, because we do not want plagues, we do not want wipeouts, we do not want danger. And honestly, just something kind of wild to think about. What if someone wanted to use this as a destruction? Since the US and the UK, they are vaccinating their kids, someone who wanted to destruct something, they could easily put out an outbreak and it could wipe out many places. I mean, it's something really important to think about. So, have any of you, if you were against vaccines, have you had any changes in your thoughts? Or even of those that you already like vaccinations, anything new that you have learned that you think is really important to know?
You make me want to further research it. My mom does not vaccinate my youngest brother because he had a reaction to one when he was a little baby, but I don't know, I'm still open-minded about it, so I'm willing to research.
Yeah, there's so many websites out there, but do make sure you aren't really going for the blogs, because when I was researching, there was a lot of blogs with, of course, opinionated, opinions, but they're not actual facts. So, but there are a lot of like .org and .gov websites that further educate you. So, like you said, is there anything more that you'd like to know about vaccines? Like anything that you're still kind of curious about?